Welcome back to On the Light, a podcast dedicated to illuminating the profound teachings and legacy of Yogacharya BKS Iyengar. I'm your host, Susan Johnson. In this episode, Prashantji tells us the colorful story of Guruji's first flight on an airplane in May of 1954. Guruji was going to Switzerland for a month to teach Yehudi Menuhin. Prashant recalls that day when the whole family went to the airport to see him off and what it was like for them. He was just 5 years old at the time. Prashant also goes on to explain to us how everyone can come under the tree of yoga. Please enjoy this episode of On the Light.
See, Guruji first time went abroad in 1954. 1954. So I was about, let's say, 5 years of age. I was born in 49, so 54. And prior to that, Guruji had met Yehudi Menuhin in Mumbai in 1951. Maybe end of 1951, winter time. And Guruji met Menuhin and then also taught him something in where he was a guest in the governor's house, and he was highly impressed. He said, I slept for first time after several years. The point was, Menuhin was overtly busy post-war period, 1945 onwards. He was extensively playing concerts. He was going to hospitals and etc., etc. And he was playing concerts for benefit of those injured soldiers. And he really got exhausted, and the nervous system was in a disarray. And every kind of comfort was lost. So he was in a miserable shape, and he was badly looking for some kind of solutions. And one of the Guruji students in Mumbai, at that time she was Mehera Malegamwala. She was Mehera Vakil. She was a Parsi lady, Mehera Vakil, who was Guruji's student. Because Guruji started going to Mumbai in 1951. And she was a student recommended by one of the Parsi students in Pune. Guruji was teaching in Pune someone called Dora Pocha. And he recommended, because Mehra Vakil was also suffering from some maladies. Her husband was a doctor. He was a medical doctor, but she could not get solace. So Guruji's Pune student suggested Mehra Vakil that she should try yoga. And that's why she tried yoga and she found relief. And she was a friend of Yehudi Menuhin. Yehudi Menuhin and Mehra Vakil, they were friends. So she was his Bombay friend. And since he came to Mumbai, he informed her that he is in Mumbai for a couple of days. And then she recommended that I have a yoga teacher, and I think you should try for your problem, your malady. And that's how she put words to Menuhin. And that's how Guruji was called to Mumbai to be teaching. It was just a 1 day's encounter. Now, Guruji had a very mixed feeling teaching a celebrity, not just a Westerner. Because by that time, Guruji was teaching some Westerners, those in Mumbai. He was teaching them, but this was a celebrity. And it was a big risk. Someone like Menuhin to be handled. So he was cautioned by many of his friends, you should take care. He is not an ordinary man. And you should be handling it with absolute care. Well, and many of the things were at the back of the mind because those were he was afraid that if something goes wrong, he might be sued for some millions of pounds, right, etc. So many people told him so many things that uh, you take a call whether you should really go because he's a celebrity, he's a guest of our prime minister. So he came to India as a guest of our prime minister. So these things in background really perturbed uh, my father a lot. Anyway, but he said he was a person who would like to take challenges. So he took it as a challenge. He said, okay, I will certainly go to Mumbai and try to teach him. And that's how we taught him in the January, I think this end of December, he was in Mumbai or something. So he taught him then. And he was impressed. For Guruji put him in Shavasana. He took him some asanas and then put him in Shavasana and took Shanmukhi Mudra. And with Shanmukhi Mudra, Menuhin went to sleep. And Guruji came to know that he's sleeping, so he could not revoke his Shanmukhi Mudra. He continued doing it and he had to sit for 45 minutes in making Shanmukhi Mudra in Shavasana. And when Guruji realized now he is off to twilight state, from dormant state to awakeful state, then Guruji slowly revoked his Shanmukhi Mudra. And then Yehudi Menuhin was highly impressed. He said, I had never experienced such relaxation in my life. And for last so many days, so many months, I have not been sleeping. And I have this, it was a nervous problem for him. Nervous system was highly taxed because of his busy schedules, giving something like 250 concerts per year. That was too much. So he was totally exhausted and all kinds of symptoms were there on the body and his mind. The body was also in lots of pains and discomfort. And therefore, he could not be playing violin satisfactorily for him. And of course, he had other problems as well of the mind and lack of sleep, insomnia, etc. The fear, etc. Nervous debility results into so many maladies in the mind: fear, anxiety, worry, indeterminate condition, etc., etc. Oscillating mind, weak mind, unstable mind, indecisive mind. So he said, I'm facing a cluster of problems and I feel that now I can get some relief from you. And therefore, he went away and then he contemplated, he thought over and he said, I should try to get B.K. Iyengar to Switzerland. And therefore, it materialized because Guruji was not ready with passport, etc. Because he had to make ready those things when the proposal came to him. So therefore, he went for all those formalities, which consumed a lot of time. At that time in India, we had a lot of red tapeism. I don't know if you know what is that. What is that concept of red tapeism? Because we were just independent country, and it was all difficult thing. So anyway, we got the passport, and they informed that I got the passport. Now I am ready to travel. And then it materialized, and in the month of May of 1954, Guruji embarked upon his first overseas journey. Now, in 1950 and 1954, etc., the air travel was not something that was with which people were familiar, because the aviation sector had just started post World War. So it was quite a new industry. Aviation industry was new industry. And therefore, it is totally unlike the condition that we have today. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry will board a plane umpteen number of times in our times. People, we are all used to flying umpteen number of times. Any journey we go by flight, by air. So we are quite familiar. Those were the days which was not the case. And moreover in India, well, we never had even to cross the borders of the country to go overseas itself was something quite a big thing. And so Guruji was to take up the overseas journeys, and that too by flight, by air. Naturally, the commoners in those days were afraid of flying, and it was quite a petrifying thing for others. Even for those who were flying, they were petrified, they were excited, mixed feelings. It is unlike what we have today, flying culture. Anybody flies anytime to anywhere with no kind of any anxiety, worry, etc. But those days that was not the case. So my mother was highly tensed for the reason that he is going overseas. Going overseas in our culture and in those days, was a very unusual thing. Now today in India, 8-9 people out of every 10 people have traveled overseas by air. Now that was not the case then. So therefore, lots of anxieties, lots of curiosities, anxieties, worries, tensions were there. That first of all, Guruji is leaving the house for some time and is going abroad, going overseas, and then do that to flying. And that was the time when we did not have jets, super constellation flights. So those were the days when Guruji took up his first flight by the Air India International, national flag holder airline. And mother she was quite anxious about his going abroad. Going such a long distance, going 6,000 miles, 7,000 miles is a big thing. Just coming from Karnataka to Maharashtra, it was almost a foreign place for him. In India, we have such a culture that it changes every 10-20 kilometers, language changes, the dialect changes. If the language is same, the dialect changes, people change, culture changes. We are a society of assorted cultures. I don't know how many of you have really understood India from tip of the south to the brim at the north. We have so many diversities, Everything changes, people change, culture changes, custom changes, language changes. So coming from Karnataka to Maharashtra, Guruji's mother was highly stressed and tensed. It's almost a foreign place. She doesn't know the language of the region. It's a totally different language between the Karnataka state and Maharashtra state. So in India itself, we have these problems. And now going overseas was a gigantic problem. And mother had lots of stress, worry, tension, anxiety. Excitement was not so much because in those days, we were not looking for foreign journeys. Today, people look for foreign journeys. They take a kind of delight and they are excited to go abroad. But we Indians, we did not have this concept idea. There was no traveling in those days. Now going abroad, going overseas to altogether different kinds of people, being amidst of so many different people, different culture, language, religion, etc. And then traveling was a great tension for my mother and for all of us, my uncles and aunties. They were all stressed and tense that Sundara is going abroad. Sundara means my father. And less more than excitement. Excitement was 1%, but worry, anxiety was 99%. Now it is totally the other way around. If anybody is traveling today, there is hardly any anxiety. There is excitement that somebody from our family is going abroad, etc. So now, for example, if Abhijata is now traveling, there is no anxiety and worry. It's excitement for her, as well as the family that she's going abroad and she's going there. In those days, the excitement was microscopic, but worry, anxiety, stress, tension was enormous, monstrous, absolutely monstrous. So my mother was entire during the duration until Guruji returned back. She was and the family was under stress, worry, tension. Now I was 5 years old, so that was not my case, but I came to know about it. Yes, my mother observed certain vows for safety, security of my father. Safe and secure journey and safe and secure staying there and coming back safely and in a secured way. Our last resort and mother's last resort was to pray God. Nothing else can be done. What can be done? If you have worries and anxieties for such reason, what can you do? So she was under certain observances. And she was praying special prayers for him, for all the aspects there, right from safety to security to success. No untoward thing should happen. Going to foreign land, foreign country, any untoward thing might happen. So she was praying for all those things. It was really a tremendous duration of worry, anxiety, brimming in her mind. She was totally subsumed, brimmed. All these aspects are brimming into the brain, brimming up to the top of the brain. So no doubt, because it was first time experience that Guruji was going abroad and then going by air. This was a big thing then. Many of them opted, they said maybe going by surface route is better, voyage by sea is better than flying overhead. The fear for any ship drowning was far less than any aircraft crashing. So all kinds of worries were there. It was torrid of a time. Guruji himself was in mixed kind of emotions. Because even for him, first time he was leaving the family, he was going away in 1951, 1954. Geeta was there, Vanita was there, myself, and then Sunita, Suchita. Except Savita, all of us were there in the family. Savita was yet to born. She was born in 1955. So, going away from family, how the family will protect itself, because we were just staying with our mother. There were no relatives around us. It was not a joint family system for us to be supported by uncles and whatever in the house. No one except mother and her 5 children. So he was worried. And then we were also small children. So any problem coming, like health problem, etc. Now Suchita was just about 1 year old. Sunita was 3 years old. I was 5 years old. So the entire responsibility falling on mother was also a worry and anxiety for my father. That's on personal plane, family plane. On personal plane, he had lots of turbulence, mixed feelings, primarily worry, anxiety, stress, because going to teach Yehudi Menuhin, a celebrity. So nothing should go wrong. Anything going wrong, we cannot anticipate what would be the consequence. So Guruji had this at the back of the mind. It was not just excitement because he was not as matured as he was in later periods of time. He had no worry, anxiety, stress, tension when he traveled after, in his 60s and 70s, after mid 60s and 70s and 80s. He was quite free in the mind. He had no worry, anxiety. But this was the first time, and that too going to teach only one person, Yehudi Menuhin, the world-renowned celebrity. So he understood the implications of it and the responsibility and liability that he had to carry during his stay there. So how will I go about how the things might be there? It was totally a foreign experience here. These days, we Google search and try to know how the things are in different countries. Wherever you are going to travel, you will Google search, or you will have met some people who have gone there, and they will tell you about all that, how that country is, what's the weather, climate, etc. But this was nothing of that kind. Nobody could tell him what was Switzerland like, what was the life like there, what were the conditions, weather, climate, etc., etc., from food to everything. So the fact of the matter was the food, basically. It was not easy for an Indian to get vegetarian food in the Western countries then. So that was at the back of the mind. 1 month I will be there. I do not know what is there for me to eat. And moreover, responsibility of teaching Yehudi Menuhin. So many things. It was total turbulence for him. It was total turbulence for him. But because he had a kind of particular iron kind of mind and psyche, he could face them easily. He had those problems. He had these things, but his mind was iron made, and therefore not much problems. But even then, there were problems. So, yeah, that was absolute stressful condition for all of us, except we who were children, 5, 3, and 1 years of age. It was not a problem. We did not have even excitement. What is going abroad? What is Switzerland? What is this and what is that? So anyway, mother had lots of worries and tensions. And Geeta was about 9 years old then, 9, 10 years old. Vanita was about 7 years old. So, yeah, the family was under stress. That's no doubt about it. And Guruji was on stress in different fronts: family front, personal front, and the professional front. He was going to be teaching yoga professionally, vocationally. So he had also problems on that front. Because the communication, he had a problem. The communication might be a problem. Will I be able to understand Yehudi Menuhin's language, his English? How will I put my English across? So that was such a time that he had a problem. Even the fear of communicating was a problem. Receiving communication, giving communication. You people cannot imagine what was his struggle in 1950s. Of course, he had overcome struggle to great extent because he was teaching in Mumbai. And in Mumbai, it was English language because most of them were Parsis or Anglo-Indians. But then understanding the language of a foreigner, accents of someone like Yehudi Menuhin, he had confronted problems while he met him in Mumbai. That was not easy to understand his accents. So that was also a stress factor. Communication was a stress factor. Handling Menuhin was a stress factor. How will I handle him not causing any injury? Moreover, not only not causing any injury, giving him solace, comfort. So it was imperative that he should have given comfort. Every lesson by lesson, what was to be given by him was a comfort and solace. If any day that did not happen, then Guruji would be facing a bad time. So that stress factor was there. Will he really feel fine in my teachings? He must feel fine. And he must feel fine remarkably. So that was a stress factor. Because he went there to satisfy Yehudi Menuhin. While we think he went there to teach Yehudi Menuhin. Teaching was not important. Satisfying him, giving him solace, giving him comfort, giving him confidence to be doing, pursuing yoga that would be taught to him was a big challenge. That was creating lots of stress for him. And therefore, he also would take recourse to what recourse we take to in our religious practices, take recourse to name of the God, some hymns, chant some hymns, do some prayers, mental prayers, etc., etc. So he had to take recourse to all that because it was completely unknown domain that he was entering, unknown kind of activity, and that too with respect to a world-renowned world citizen. He was a world citizen by that time. And of course, so it was very, very stressful. And on coming back, it was a big relief for him because he came back with flying colors. Now, what were their flying colors could not be identified by us, nor my mother, nor any one of us. But he came with flying colors. So he came with complete satisfaction, contentment, and felt that he was highly graced for his first tour abroad, that he had no hassles, no problems coming his ways, and everything was smooth sailing. So he was very much thankful to the grace of Almighty. But until that time, he was praying the Almighty, praying every time, every day that I should be able to the expected levels by Yehudi Menuhin, or little beyond the expected levels of Yehudi Menuhin, minimum expected levels. So that was a great challenge and a great kind of stressful time for him for that month. He went in the month of May, I think, 1954, and it was summertime here. All of us went to airport, profusely sweating in Mumbai. Unfortunately, his flight was unlike today's flight, which are midnight flights. Because of the flight scheduling with the network that we have today, in his time, he departed noon hours, around 2:30. So it was extremely hot in Mumbai. And we were, as we were children, we had never experienced such sun, 2:30 sun at the airport. The airport was totally unlike the airports that you have today. Most of the airport areas were open air, no air conditioners. And we had kind of barricades, and we almost were at those bars, which was hardly 50, 60 feet from his stair to aircraft. So we could see him quite clearly until I was climbing the stairs, and at the door he waved his hand, and then he got into the flight, and we could see him all that. It was the aircraft was hardly 200 feet from us. Now that's not the case today. We cannot be so close to the aircraft today. We have viewing galleries, etc., security tight, etc. Then it's air-conditioned airports these days. At that time, it was parching hot, and almost my younger sisters were crying because of the heat and sun. They were crying because it was 2:30 in the afternoon and then so hot. Somehow he entered the aircraft, and then we came out from there and got back to Mumbai, got back to Pune, etc. But it was not an easy time for us to even to go to airport. There hardly any excitement because we were parched from bottom, all over cement concrete, airport full of cement concrete and whatever tar, etc., etc. So heat radiation, sun from the top, and from bottom also heat and radiation heat from all the sides. So it was very difficult for tender children to put up with that airport weather, airport conditions. So they were all crying. So we had to, mother had to comfort them. Geeta had to carry, Vanita had to carry the two children. So that was how it was. But anyway, it was very, very stressful time for my mother particularly. And of course, father himself had a lot of stress and worry. There was hardly any excitement, just 0.01% excitement that I'm going abroad. But then all these aspects were getting onto him, and it was not a comfortable journey for him to be taking off, leaving the family behind, small children behind, going to again a place where it was not a place of comfort for him. Although Switzerland is wonderful weather and climate, he was going to encounter Menuhin, and he was supposed to be guest of Yehudi Menuhin. So conducting as a guest of a celebrity in a foreign country, so lots of stress on his minds. But what world noted was he went to Europe first time in 1954, taught great Yehudi Menuhin, and came out with flying colors. He had lots of problems with food. We were told that he almost lost 7-8 kilos in 1 month. It is because of lack of food. He could not be getting the food for his meals. Imagine 1954 Europe. It's not 2024 Europe that you can be getting any kind of cuisine, whether you are Chinese or Japanese or Indian, or any kind of food is available all over the world today. That was not the case. So only comfort was beautiful scenery in Switzerland, Alps mountains, snow-covered mountains. And of course, in Switzerland, all of you know what it is. So that was only solace once in a while, coming like lightning in thunder. Otherwise, throughout, it was like dark clouds all over, thunderstorm all over, once in a while lightning. So it was not a comfortable time, but however, as Guruji assessed day after day after day when he taught him, he came to know that yes, I am successful. I am able to do what I can be doing and should be doing, and I am satisfying my host. The host was extremely delighted to have Guruji on every day basis lessons. Guruji had to take care that he should not be tired and fatigued. Moreover, he should not be having any discomfort. Now, all those who are done under Guruji, you know, you have a torrid of a time. If you do one class, you are not good for anything. Next day, you are log of food. So he was teaching Yehudi Menuhin. He was not teaching yoga. He was teaching Yehudi Menuhin because he was expecting to be what. That's why he inscribed on the watch, not my yoga teacher, but my best violin teacher. Because his interest was to play violin well, play concerts well, without hassle, without problem, without tension, without worry. And in a relaxed manner, he wanted to play concert. That was what he was looking for. And that he was getting. So Guruji was not there to teach him yoga. Guruji was there to help him in what he wanted. So it was purely customized yoga, and it was remedial yoga, giving remedies to his body-mind problems. Body, mind, nerves problems, because those were the problems which were sounding loudly. Body aches and body problems, body tiredness, body fatigue and nervous problems, etc., mental problems, mental stress, worry, anxiety that he had. And so Guruji had to see that he's comforted. And that was a big responsibility. And somehow Guruji came with flying colors. Well, after he came back, well, it was all accomplishment, totally accomplished, totally accomplished. But before that time, that 1 month, it was a torrid of a time for him also. Every day was a stress and worry. Yesterday, I kept him happy. Will I keep him contented today? Will I keep him contented tomorrow? What should I do to be having a progressive content for him? So uh, he had lots of challenges in his first visit, and he could only meet one person, that is Yehudi Menuhin. Nobody else as friends to have some kind of social. Teach Yehudi Menuhin, dine with Yehudi Menuhin, talk to Yehudi Menuhin, and no one else. So all the time, Yehudi Menuhin around and in front was also a stress factor for him. It was not comfortable. You must be given some kind of respite. So only when he went back to his room, he had some respite, but no one, no social interaction. Those days, those days, no telephones. So could not be having telephonic conversation, could not talk to us for that 1 month. So it was stress was building up on that front as to how the family members are keeping back home. So communication was very poor. So that was another stress factor. These days, you will have no problem. You carry a smartphone. You can talk to any person that you want to talk, and you can be in communication. But Guruji had no communication. He had to only write letters, and the letters would take 8 days to come to us. Our letters would take 8 days to reach him. So see the communication gap. Now these days we don't have this problem. So today's human being cannot imagine the problems of those days. And of course, little financial comfort that came Guruji's way. And many requested Guruji, was so impressed. So he asked him whether he would come and settle down in Switzerland. So within 1 month, he was so impressed that he put this proposal to Guruji whether he would come and settle with his family. Now, when Guruji was invited there, it was arrangement that he should support the family back home. So the monies were sent back to Pune, and Guruji was paid his remuneration. And then on top of it, this offer came, and then Guruji point blank said, no, it is not possible for him to shift whole family and settle in a foreign place. Now, many reasons later Guruji analyzed that it was the right decision. Basically, he was a very patriotic person. You should know that we were in independence for 1200 years. Our country was a dependent country, a slave country for nearly 1200 years, out of which 150 years rule of Britishers. There were Dutch and French who were also had formed their colonies in the mainland of India. So we were ruled over by them, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the French, the British, and before the British, the Mughals. Mughals ruled over for nearly 1000 years. So we were slaves. We were slaves. And therefore, generations of people that time had this feeling of nationalism that we must become independent country, sovereign country, and therefore we had our freedom fights put up. We had nearly 100 years of freedom fights from 1857 to 1947 when we got freedom. So that generation of people had a special kind of idea and concept of nationalism, which post-independent era, we don't have it. We might love our country. We might love our country, love our people, love our culture, but that time it was totally a different thing because the whole country was in dependence, ruled over by the alien people. And therefore, nationalism was one of the very strong things in the minds of people of Guruji's generation. And that was one thing. And the other thing, he understood the implications that taking whole family to Europe, that means the children would be de-Indianized. And that he did not want to happen, because he was also very orthodox. The culture, religious culture was orthodox in his family. And he was also in such an era that he had that orthodoxy in his mind for our tradition, our culture, our religion, our faith, etc. And therefore, he point blank said, he did not hesitate. He said, that is very difficult. However, I can come here and help you. Maybe every year I can come and do that. But it is difficult for me to shift the whole family and myself settle, because they understood so many things. That then again, it will be slavery, that I will be settling here. I will be under my host. So Yehudi Menuhin is now just a host. He would become my master. Because Guruji did not have any other kind of things to carry out his own activities. So he thought, I will have to be constantly teaching Menuhin and Menuhin only, or maybe those who he suggests I will be able to teach. He would not be able to go out and find his own students, etc. So he thought of all those things, but fundamental basic thing was nationalism and the strong pole of Hinduism in his consciousness. And therefore, he refused. And he said, I will come offer. That's how it happened in 1954. So, well, at this moment, I recall only this much. If you have anything from this, any extrapolations, anything that you are inferring, you can ask me. I will try to answer those questions. At this point in time, 1954, only I remember that much. Then in 1956, I went to United States for the first time, again for one person. That is William Hale Harkness of Harkness Foundation. It was at that time very well known. I don't know what Harkness Foundation is doing today, whether it's still existing and whether it has influence on United States. But she was the Menuhin suggested she had lots of problems. She had 8, 10, 12 children. It was a big family. So he had to go to teach the family. If I remember right, the Kosan gas of United States was owned by her. Kosan gas. I don't know whether that brand is still there in your country. But
maybe Standard Oil. She was heir to Standard Oil.
Correct. Maybe. But then from Guruji, we heard that there's a very famous Kosan gas, which later became SO gas. And that came to India also. They had their network in India. And she was very rich. She had number of Cadillacs with her. In those days, Cadillac was perhaps the most luxurious and most expensive car. I don't know what is today, which is the car today, but Cadillac. And she was owning so many Cadillacs. And Guruji told us, I was commuting in Cadillac, I sat in Cadillac, etc. And we were proud of it. Again, because in India, we had heard about Cadillac. So anyway, so he went again to United States only to teach that family. Again, he could not meet other Americans. He could not be open to other American public. And he gave, of course, certain demonstrations, etc. under the auspices of Indian ambassador. That was when Guruji realized that I must, whenever I go to a country, I must meet the ambassador of the country and try to make some arrangement. So Switzerland also, he contacted the ambassador and had some demonstrations given in Switzerland. and then in America also as well. So that was his second tour. Again, going for 1 month, going in summer months, after afternoon times. Usually today we have all overseas European American flights, midnight flights. That time they were noon flights, afternoon flights and noon flights. And that was again in the summer months of India, because that month of May is not so cold in United States. And then, of course, your summer places in June, July, August, etc. And then the winter sets in. But then that was 1956 event for Harkness and the huge, large family. Okay.
So when he came back from Switzerland, did you all go to the airport again?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We all went to receive him once again, because we had our friends in Mumbai, Guruji students were there in Mumbai. So we could travel to Mumbai. The whole family went. And then we stayed with one of these students, and then they took us to the airport, escorted us to the railway station, and we traveled back with Guruji on the train. So, yeah.
That must have been quite a reunion then for your family.
Yeah, we were going to airport every time until mid-60s, even 1960, 61, 62. Later, the whole family was not going. Myself and mother were going, because Geeta was now quite an elderly daughter in the house, so she could take care of others. And therefore, myself and my mother would go to Mumbai and go to the airport and fetch him on his way back. And then later, I alone started going, because my mother was not keeping well. After mid-60s, she was not keeping well. So we insisted that she doesn't undertake travel. So I would take a taxi, go to Mumbai, go to airport, fetch him, come back to taxi stand, get a taxi to Pune. So taxi services had started in maybe 70s, early 70s or late 60s. So we did not have to go to railway station, wait for train to depart, and then catch the taxi and come back immediately. So then I was going until the last visit. Only when my family members started going with him, like sometimes Geeta went, sometimes Sunita went. When they were going, then I did not have to go to airport. But when Guruji went alone, I would go to airport to drop him and fetch him back as well. And then other students started going, like Jawar and Birjus, etc. In that case, I did not go to airport. I did not go to Mumbai. Guruji traveled alone from Pune to Mumbai. Somebody would be accompanying him, Birju or Jawar or Sunita or someone, or the Surubin. And then I did not go to airport then. Only I would go to receive him, because he would come alone from Mumbai. So I would go to airport to receive him.
I have to smile a little bit when I hear you talk about Guruji's trepidation about teaching a celebrity. And I think about when Guruji was with us in Minnesota in 1987, and after he had first overnight, and then the next day we were going for a little outing, and we brought Guruji out to the car, and I took my key out of my pocket, and I thought for a minute, oh God, I am the guy who is taking Guruji.
And that was a totally different time. Listen, that was totally different time, because before that, Guruji, when he went abroad, he had to put up with students, those countries, Americans and Europeans. He had to put up with them. But when he was speaking about 80s, 85, 86, it was a time you people had to put up with him. So he was a monarch. So there was no stress and tension and worry, anxiety for him. It is you people who had the worry, anxiety. But prior to that, it was worry for him because he had to put up with whoever. But later, the time total turnaround came, and the people had to put up with him. The problem was shifted to them.
But I'm
It was
referring
shifted to you
to
people.
the fact that his safety is in my hand now. I'm going to be his driver, And I thought, oh God, I'm going to be known as the guy who got in an accident with BKS Iyengar in the front seat with him, And I thought, oh God, but as it always was, Guruji made absolutely everything just pleasant and calm. He sat in the car and he was like your best friend sitting next to you in the car, Kristen and I and Guruji and one of the others. It was beautiful.
As you said the other day, he was a very good host, as well as very good guest. So later it was all different. And Guruji had by that time became celebrity.
Yeah.
After 70s and after Light on Yoga, he became a celebrity by himself. But prior to that, he was not a celebrity. He was a common, ordinary man. When he went in 54 and 56, he was an ordinary Indian going there. But later, the tables were turned. He himself became a celebrity. So he had no problems. If at all any problem, it was problems for the other side. But he did not create those problems. As you said, he was a very good guest. Yeah, he would not create problems to others. But putting up with him in his yoga was not a simple thing. So don't imagine that the way you were taught, he taught Yehudi Menuhin. Absolutely no. Absolutely not. He was not a hard taskmaster. Otherwise, he was known as hard taskmaster throughout his life by everyone invariably calling him a hard taskmaster. But for Menuhin, he was not that. It was totally a different thing. He did not teach yoga to Menuhin. That's one thing that trait has to be understood. He understood whom to teach yoga and whom not to teach yoga. Yet have a yogic interaction. He taught the Queen Elizabeth of Belgium. She was interested in yoga. So he had another problem. She was enthusiastic to get onto the head when she was past 80. Guruji was afraid at the age of 80, 84, how to put her on the head, but she was excited. She was curious to be getting onto the head. So she challenged Guruji. If you put me on my head, you stay here or walk out. So there was a challenge. So Guruji had colorful life, you see. Not only that, he was challenging every time. He was challenged. Which is a part of his life that many of the other people do not know. Only people thought he would be challenging every time. Students were challenged. Students were scapegoats. He was a hard taskmaster, demanding, commanding. But he had so many kinds of people to handle. And he had those traits, how to handle that person. So most of his teachings pertain to those who were not students of yoga. Someone like, say, J. Krishnamurti, someone like celebrities in India, the president of the country, vice president of the country. He taught so many celebrities in our country as well. So he knew that they are not too keen to learn subject of yoga. They are clients. They want some certain benefits from me. So I should cater them.
For historical reference, I just thought of what you referred to earlier, to my best violin teacher. That was engraved on the back of the stopwatch that Mr. Menuhin had given to.
Yeah, it was a wristwatch with stopwatch. It was a wristwatch with stopwatch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was engraved on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the same one that Guruji carried around with him. I mean, to really
end of his life. Now I'm caretaker of that watch.
Yeah, he was. He always had it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was a great man. He thought he was going to meet a great man, but he was the great man. Really, he was the great man in this case.
He moved with all kinds of people of all strata. physical, intellectual, mental, all kinds of people he moved with. He handled them. He taught yoga to starting from lunatics, mentally insane people to someone like Krishnamurti, intellectual giant. So it was like, it figuratively you call it circus, colorful, very, very colorful. So his life was very colorful. He handled all stratas of people, economically, intellectually, caliber wise, character wise. Even he taught some of the people who were characterless. And then they built up character. He did not give them brainwash, but he believed that by doing yoga, they will be definitely becoming temperate, moderate, and reformed. So he taught yoga. He taught so many people yoga when yoga was not taught. He did not teach yoga, but he taught them their yoga. And the yoga is to be catered that way. It is such a like a huge tree that you can take what you need from it. Kalpa Vruksha. It is called Kalpa Vruksha, celestial tree. Every dream is fulfilled. You might be profane. You can be coming under the tree of yoga. You can be a materialistic person. You can come under the tree of yoga. You might be little spiritually inclined. You can come under the tree of yoga. You might be ailing person. You can be healthy person. You might be strong, robust person. You might be egoistic person. You might be humble person. You might be celebrity. You might be sub-common man. You can certainly come under the tree of yoga. So that's why his yoga is also multi-dimensional, which is not my case. Which is not my case. I became more selective whether to teach, and I want to teach particular way. If you want, you learn. Otherwise, say goodbye. I won't cater you. I won't cater your needs. I am going to cater this. I am going to do this. If you want, come and partake. If you don't, if you leave I was never disturbed by somebody leaving my class. Usually, a professional teacher, is not happy. It is taken as betrayal, or not happy. Somebody leaves the class. That was not the case. I said, okay, if they don't want to be learning what I'm teaching, it is better that they go away rather than become some kind of parasites in my class. So I did not develop that multi-dimensional process to cater everyone. I'm good for everyone. No. So mine was totally different cup of tea. And I marvel what Guruji was. Okay.
Do you think it's possible that, when you say the teachers were disappointed, they felt a grudge that they didn't, that you weren't teaching the way Guruji taught, but I'm wondering if it was more disappointment or frustration in themselves that they didn't understand, that they weren't ready for your type of teaching.
Yeah, they should get ready. I won't prepare them.
Yeah.
I won't prepare them. They should get ready. And then it's a different thing. But I will not try to devise something, package something to get them into my fold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because Guruji did all that, and so many years they are doing. So maybe after some years, if they are slightly inclined to know what I teach, and if they come, it's okay. If they don't do my classes, I don't have grudge. There are some seniors who don't do my classes at all. They don't like my teaching. I know that. They don't like my teaching. I have no grudge. I am trying to teach what Guruji's yoga was, why was he doing. That's why I differentiate between Iyengar yoga and Iyengar's yoga. Now, I don't teach Iyengar yoga. It is taught all over the world. By millions of teachers, Iyengar yoga is being taught. But then I wanted, this aspect came in maybe after Guruji passed away, that people should know what was his yoga, why was he doing. If you do yoga There's one reason why you do, or set of reasons why you do. That was not the reason why he did yoga for all those years. Certainly not. We will do because if we don't practice, we don't feel fine, withdrawal symptoms, we are not comfortable if we don't practice one day. So therefore we practice, or whatever we are gaining for whatever purpose we are doing. That was not the purpose that he did yoga for those 70, 60, 70 years. When he understood the essence of yoga, why he did was totally different. And that's how he did was totally different. It was not something for eyes to be sighting, vision to be had, or cameras to be catching, videography to be catching. These are all something with very internal things. And that is why he kept his practice. So most of the time he was researching, he was exploring, he was experimenting, he was observing what is essential yoga, why yoga is chitta vritti nirodha, and why yoga is not fitness program. So I thought that is more important to put across why Guruji was doing and what was he doing, invisible aspects of his dynamics. Because people see the visible aspects of dynamics or watching his on the videos, or watching him, they watched him when he was practicing, but it was all visual dimension. In the invisible dimension cannot be caught, and that is what I am trying to bring to notice. Anyway, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.
It's a great talk.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to On the Light. Stay with us as we continue to unfold the life's work of BKS Iyengar and the auspicious subject of yoga. Today, I leave you with this excerpt from page 87 of Light on Life by BKS Iyengar. Yehudi Menuhin was humble before his art, as I am before mine. But that does not deprive us the right to pride of achievement. Simply, we do not attach it to ego. It is a gift that we have been given the grace to share. Until next time, shine bright.